Hey fans, welcome to Primo Reef Acrylics. Today's video is going to be on the Red Sea Regal Angel, which is kind of on my glass there. Anyways, I wanted to actually go over with you guys some of the requirements on this fish and the care level, the intensity of it, and how to actually get it to eat, which I found was successful on 3 or 4 attempts with this. So the Regal Angel pretty much, it comes from 3 parts of the ocean. There may be scattered a little bit here and there, but majority they're from the Indian Ocean, and the Red Sea Ocean. There's very distinct features about the 3 versions there. The only difference, the major difference you're gonna see between all 3 is the Red Sea version is one of the most expensive ones, and the only feature that you see is the belly. And back tail is blue with orange stripes. So the belly is actually all yellow, whereas the Indonesian Ocean actually has a little bit of gray into it. But that back bottom dorsal fin, I believe is what you call a dorsal fin, is blue and orange. So that's one of the main distinct features that you find on the Regal fish, the Regal Angel. Secondly, what I wanted to speak about, guys, when you purchase a Regal Angel, please do your research and don't just purchase the fish because it looks nice. And then what's going to end up happening is, if you don't do any research on this fish, 90% or 99% of me will believe that it's definitely going to die. It's not going to survive in your atmosphere. If you're going to house it with aggressive fishes like tangs, even dwarf angels will stress this fish to a certain degree that it will actually die. Even if you have a 6-inch Regal Angel to a 2-inch dwarf angel, it will most likely drive it to extreme stress levels that it won't eat anything, and it'll just pass away. That's why do your research on these. Second thing is, the way I transition mine into this is that I specifically save my tank space for this Regal Angel. This is the first fish that's in my tank. Well, technically the second, because the first fish is Lawnmower Blenny. He's just a grass grazer. He's not territorial, doesn't care about his space. But the Regal Angel, it's specifically made for this fish. Now, why I decided to do this is because I went ahead and researched for about a couple weeks. That's day and night research, from business company forums to personal forums, from Reef to Reefs to Reef Central, and many other forums, and even websites that provide links and information about this fish. I read everything. Whatever was on the internet that I can grab, I was continuous reading hours and hours at a time. And what I came across is that this fish here, there's 2 stories you're going to get behind of it. The first story is quarantine this fish. The second story that I found off personally from some of the forum people, or the forums, was that they said to house this fish directly inside of your aquarium as fast as possible, because it doesn't do good in an unnatural environment. One, because of the feeding requirements. Second is because it's such this fish it's just really timid, and it's not really aggressive at all. Even at this size, even if I put a 1-inch tang in here, I believe the tang will beat this Regal up. And that's how soft they are. When I put this in my tank, what ended up happening was that it was so shy and it was so scared, even for the size, and it knew nothing was in my tank for the first day, 24 hours, night to day. He knew there was nobody in here, but still, even the shadow from my window when the clouds passed by, it was actually darting inside the rockscape. So I never found any fish that was this shy before, up until I got this Regal. So that's why I pretty much have him in the tank first, because I want his home to be the first one in this tank without him ever being disturbed by anybody else. I wanted to make sure his feeding requirements were up to par and that he was eating what he had to eat. I didn't want another fish that was a more aggressive eater that can overpower this Regal Angel into taking his food, because then he'll be left behind. Now, some people might say, "Oh, you might be carrying some type of disease or parasites on the fish and might be in the tank." Well, you know what? It's a good possibility. I might. The fish was showing some signs of ick the first day when I got it. Again, at that time it wasn't eating. it can be combated in hyposalinity, medical treatments, and various different treatments. But one of the main ways to treat ick is definitely by making sure your fish is eating. If you know your fish is eating, you've already combated ick, in my theory, because once it's eating what you want it to eat, and you can dose it the garlic and whatever you want, that you know the fish's immune system and the health is actually working from the inside out. Usually when a fish has ick, you'll notice that it might be eating, but chances are it's really not eating that much. And so you want to be very careful with that. A lot of guys who sometimes might quarantine this fish might realize that it may not even eat at all, because you just took it from the ocean and you dumped it in a tank with no sand, no live rock, PVC, and copper. Copper is also, I found that copper is one of the chemicals that a lot of people use for quarantining your fishes to rid of some of the chemicals, some of the diseases on the fish. But copper itself, because it's such a strong content, what ends up happening to the fish is that it really doesn't even like copper. That's how sensitive this fish is, even at small amounts. So that's why I say be very, very careful. Getting onto the feeding requirements. When I first had this fish in the tank, feeding was insane. I tried feeding myces, brine shrimp, frozen, krill. I tried what else did I try? Nuri. Nuri didn't work. I went to the seafood store, bought shrimps. Shrimps didn't work. I was technically, for the second day, I was getting really worried that this fish is not going to survive, and it's actually not going to eat anything at all. So what ended up happening was, after I did some more research into what it eats, what it doesn't eat, I went out and bought some clams. So I went to your regular seafood store and I bought some clams, and the clams were actually, there's nothing in the clams. Meaning it didn't eat anything off the clam at all. It just wasn't excited, wasn't surprised, it didn't like clams. It looked at it and that's it. It didn't want to do anything else. So the third day, what ended up happening was that I went out and bought some oysters. And with all luck, oysters, it inspected it for about 15 minutes, and then it chowed down on the entire oyster. Now the way I fed the oyster was, when I broke it out of the clam, it was a live oyster, so I broke it out of the clam and I placed it directly in the tank with the clam. The reason why I did this is because it just came from the ocean. It's definitely gonna eat the oyster, but I wanted to increase the chances of it eating by having a natural source. So I wanted it to pick at the oyster from the clam. That's the only reason I did that. So first day of eating, you know what? I was jumping for joy. I was really happy. And so I was like, okay, maybe one day was a fluke. I don't know. Try the second day. So I tried it the second day. And the second day I went out and bought oysters again. Complete new fresh ones. And I did the same thing. Wherever I knew it was housing before it was actually in the front of the tank, it was technically right behind the tank. And I placed the oyster in the same spot, and it actually ate. So really happy there. The third day, I decided to try something different. So I know that shell, psychologically, he knew there was food in the shell now. So I know the fish, when it sees the shell, it knows its food is coming. So now what I did was I switched his mind and I said, you know what, let me put a squid inside of that shell. And in the shell, what I did was, I have some open shells here. So this is exactly what it looks like. They're pretty decent sized shells. They're not bad. The one I have there actually pokes, I drilled some holes in the shell, and I have a fishing string that I tie the squid right to that shell, so when it does go break it apart, it doesn't really the squid doesn't fly all over my tank. So I did that, and I mean, with God's grace, everything was good, and it ate my squid. So that was a definitely added bonus there. It ate what it had to eat. I went back to shrimps that evening. It actually stayed away from shrimps. So now I know that the fish is actually eating squid and oysters. I'm going to keep the diet as it is. As the days, I'm feeding it right now 3 times a day. So mornings, mid-afternoon around 3 o'clock, and then around 7 o'clock at midnight, because I want his immune system to be top-notch, and I want it to eat as much as possible at the current time. So I'm going to feed it different varieties. I even actually tried a nuri. So the nuri piece, what ended up happening was that he ate few of the pieces, but again, what I'm playing with the fish is that I'm kind of tricking it into eating different things from the same bowl that it was used to. So every single time it goes back to that shell, it thinks it's getting oyster, but I'm switching it once in a while. So once that happens, the nuri portion there, it ate some of the nuri and then it spit it back out because it kind of figured out itself and said, you know what, it wasn't oysters the first day. The last time it was oysters and then it was squid and then now it's nuri. It definitely got the point. And then when I tested that same shell with that nuri again that evening, it inspected it, drove right past it, and then ignored the complete thing. So fish is definitely really smart. It does know what it wants when it wants it. So you know what? He's winning the battle right now with me, and I'm gonna give it oysters and squid as much as possible for right now, and just keep it healthy. That's the whole key. So now, after I found that it was eating oysters, what ended up happening was that this fish, when it came in, it was from an importer. So I bought the fish direct from an importer, not a local fish store. And so I was actually delivering tanks to Montreal, and the client said, you know what, I have a tank set up here and everything. So he wanted the Regal, so I got him the Regal, shipped it to him there. And he loved the Regal. You know what? His Regal was actually about, say, 5.5 to 6 inches. So it's a pretty big Regal. Everybody that I speak to in the aquarium hobby had told me that if you're going to buy a Regal that big, you know what? You might as well dig his own grave and say the fish is not going to survive and it's going to pass away. I was really scared because, you know what? You give your client a fish like this. I mean, yeah, the money's there. But again, you just kind of took this fish from the ocean and you just kind of put it into a tank for it to slowly kill itself. So I spoke with him, and you know what, he had the same issue. He tried to feed it all different variety of foods. He even bought it like reef worms, these little worms you buy in the packages to feed your fishes. I know wrasses love them. So we tried that, and he wouldn't even eat worms. And I said, you know what, I had success with oysters. Can you give it a shot? Because it was about 6-inch Regal Angel. So I go, give it a shot and let me know what happens. Apparently he tried it 2 days in a row and the Regal has been eating more than successfully. I contacted one of the store owners that actually distributed some of the Regal Angels. They bought 4 of them. And even they said, oh, Paramount, you know what, it's not going to eat anything. It's the fishes are just way too big. In his experience, he found that nothing was going to work. And even if so, you know what, the oysters did the job. So this is a little trick of the trade, guys. I mean, a lot of times we don't use oysters, but for this method, for this Regal, the health and the care, definitely try that oyster because it's definitely going to work. I don't know why right now I decided to record this and he keeps swimming up and down in this area. The entire day he's between the rockscapes and picking at things. But yeah, that's his dietary requirements that he has right now. Regal's Angels are technically reef safe with cautious. The reason why I say that is because they mainly pick on LPS and soft corals. So if you have xenas, mushrooms, Kenya trees, and even skeleton LPS corals with soft bodies, this fish will destroy it. There have been a few cases where they said, you know what, the fish is eating my SPS. It's technically not eating it. What it does is it picks on SPS. So for some of you that are looking into this fish, be careful. You know what, it's not a full reef friendly fish if you're going to have soft corals. Reason why I got him is because I know I'm going to have an SPS dominant tank, and that if he starts eating my SPS, then I think me and him are going to have an issue. But overall, I'm going to cross my fingers, and you know what, keep it healthy, keep it eating, and make sure that he's always fed, that he never goes and picks other stuff. So that's, be careful with this, guys. When you do buy one, make sure it's eating. That's my #1 priority for you guys. Make sure if you do pick one up, you have a decent established tank for it, so it can start picking at certain things, and there's live copepods in here. I've actually gone ahead and bought trigger pods, put them in my tank. I took some macroalgae, I shaked off all the pods, the copepods that were on there, so there's a ton of stuff on my tank. And the way you find that out is after a couple weeks, you look on the glass and you should see hundreds and thousands of little tiny creatures. And that's what it is. Those are little tiny bugs that you want in your system for that stuff feeds your corals, feeds your fishes, and feeds everything else. So overall, I hope you guys found my experience a good one, and that if you do decide to buy a Regal Angel, you know what, and if it's not eating, try that oyster, because I found great success with the oyster, not just in my tank, but 2-3 other different tanks. So that's definitely an added bonus for a lot of you guys out there. The Regal Angel, again, be very careful when you do buy one, how you buy it, how it's treated, and always take care of this fish like it's your own. And even if you have a tank with a lot of dominant fishes in there, it is a gamble with this fish. It's never going to be 100% protected or healthy. It's a gamble. So be careful when you buy this fish. If you're having trouble for you to feed this fish, try the oysters. The reason why I don't try a mixed blend of a lot of stuff is because I want to see what he's eating, what he's not. The last thing I want to do is put a tablespoon of mixed food in my tank, and all it eats is a couple bites and that's it, because he doesn't like anything else. That's just waiting for nitrifying bacteria in my tank or hair algae just to take off, and that's something I really don't want in here. That's why I'm target feeding this fish the way I want to properly, and that it stays healthy right now, and then slowly the transition will happen down the road, and I will keep you posted on this fish and see how it does along the way. But in the meantime, if you guys have any questions, feel free to call me, email me, or just write a description down below. And I can definitely try to help you as much as possible, guys, okay? So this is the Regal Angel health tips and care, and how to get it to feed pretty quick. And that's it. If you guys have any questions, post them below. Thank you for watching Primo Reef Acrylics, and have yourself a great day, guys.